In Judge Rutherford's early years, the Watchtower publications had many things to say about the Ku Klux Klan. What did they say? And why would Watchtower sell radio time to the Klan? The Watchtower and the Ku Klux Klan. Another thing that came out of this 1924 convention, the International Bible Students leader sees the dawn of a new day in religious strife. And here, Rutherford talks about the Klan. So a statement Rutherford made at this convention, he says, I'm neither pro-Klan or pro-Catholic, nor am I against either. I believe in religious freedom and would never countenance interference with sincere belief. Why wouldn't he denounce the Klan and what they stood for?
And do they follow that today? I believe in religious freedom and would never countenance interference with sincere belief. Is that followed?
Not by the arguments and articles I see now. They would denounce such things.
And right? Yeah, I think you can say I'm neither. Some things you could say I'm neither hot nor cold, but you can't say I'm neither pro-Klan or you've got it.
Yeah.
In something like that, you have to take a stand.
If you haven't seen it already, check out our Miracle Wheat discussion for more connections with Watchtower and the Klan. Very, very fascinating stuff there. In the Golden Age, there was an article written about the Klan. In the New Era Enterprise for February 8th, 1921, Rutherford says, during World War I, the IBSA were badly treated in Oklahoma, but not by these countrymen. Some of them, after the lecture, asked Brother Bohnet, what is the attitude of the IBSA towards the Ku Klux Klan? Brother Bohnet replied he didn't know much about the Ku Klux, but was watchfully waiting to see what the attitude of the Ku Klux is toward the IBSA, and that the Golden Age had recently published an article about that organization, which so pleased the officials of the Ku Klux Klan that they republished the Golden Age article in their own literature.
Now, this is something I did not know. This is new to me. I've never heard this one.
And this drawing, this is from the Golden Age article.
So the Klan. I've never heard this one. This is amazing, Jeff.
It's because Bohnet was linked to this statement. It is just absolutely bizarre.
So the society has links to the KKK now. And no, they didn't endorse it. I'm just being humorous here.
They didn't endorse it because they say, quit trying to scare people with gowns, sheets, and hoods, but on the contrary, make a vigorous attack on the power causing the evil in our land and other lands. That is to say, big business, the controllers of the destinies of men and women generally, who exercise control and power in the most dastardly manner. The class that has wrought about the very things which you profess to rectify. They were against the Catholic Church, so that's the reason why they're mentioned in the Golden Age, basically, because they were very anti-Catholic and anti-Jewish later.
And you can't even hold Rutherford accountable for what the KKK chose to think was a good thing. They didn't endorse it, but it is humorous. I find it humorous, to say the least.
Even worse, in Canada, they had their own radio station in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. CHUK were the call symbols, and that's the radio station there, and some photos from inside the radio station. So here's a book, On Air Radio in Saskatchewan, by Wayne Schmalz. And in it says, Saskatoon's second station, run by the International Bible Students Association, opened in 1924. Basically, they tried to shut the radio down, and this is a little bit of the stories in this book, On Air Radio in Saskatchewan. In January 1927, the Saskatoon Board of Trade requested that the Bible student station be prohibited from preaching sermons over the airwaves except on Sunday. Yet this event was not important. A letter in the Saskatoon Daily Star showed that the Board of Trade did not support its subcommittee, and 10 numerous letters and petitions were signed by non-Bible students, indicated that the station's sermons were reasonably popular throughout Saskatchewan. So they were trying to shut down the station. Why? So in Penton's book, one of his first books, and this was written when he was still a Jehovah's Witness, And I've talked to him recently, and he said, this could stand a rewrite, because he was just trying to defend the society back at that time. And a lot of this also got incorporated into and updated in Apocalypse Delayed, which is not completely favorable to the society, of course, but it tries to be accurate to the history and the documentation. So in his book, Penton says, on January 7th, 1927, the radio director for the Department of Marine and Fisheries sent a memorandum to Alexander Johnston claiming that the radio station, Watchtower radio station Chuck, was in trouble again. He went on to tell his superior about the Ku Klux Klan programs, which he stated had been investigated by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and reported to the department by them. So basically, they were selling time to other people, and they were selling radio time to the Ku Klux Klan in Canada. And then the Ku Klux Klan broadcast their programs through Watchtower's radio stations.
This is all new to me. I never read or heard this. This is good. So it's basically like the neutrality. If we can make a buck, we don't care who we make or sell to or for.
Yeah. And again, it's that change of perspective of when do they Watchtower really become money makers? Here's a real good example of that. It's during that Rutherford regime, right?
Well, they perfected it in the Nazi regime after the KKK.
Yeah.
So as we've shown, I thought it was all rumor. Have heard that the society was a little tied to the KKK, but I never found any really documentations personally. So I assumed it was a rumor. But based on this, if they were selling radio time, that is an affiliation, whether you want to call it one or not.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous organization. It shows some of that racist background that I think Watchtower had. Not only were, the racism of the Ku Klux Klan, but their very anti-Semitic statements they got into in following years. And you can see a little bit of that in our discussion, our neutrality discussion. Here's more on Bohnet and his discussion on the Klan. And he claims to not know much about the Klan, but they were quite well known at the time. So instead of denouncing them again, as would have been the best thing to do, he talks about areas of agreement they had. And he ends up, they both hate the Catholic Church. He ends up agreeing with them on that. He ends up selling him a book by the end of this. So very sad connections with Watchtower history. But another odd statement by Rutherford at this convention. He says, "We don't have a membership roll. Times have changed. Now it's difficult to get off the membership roll because you're going to lose your family and your friends. It's all about the stats. It's all about the numbers, right?" And he says, "There are no dues, nor are there any high salary persons making money from it."
But the fringe benefits were excellent.
I got a mansion out of it and a couple 12-cylinder Cadillacs.
Maybe you didn't get a salary, but when you're driving around in a couple of Cadillacs and a mansion during the Depression, I think you are receiving something, making money from it.
Thank you again, Paul. This has been a very fascinating discussion. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. Leave some comments. Let us know what you'd like to see in the future. Get a whole story, not just the Watchtower's perspective, but from all the various splinter groups. What were they saying? So until next time, keep reading.